South Africa has slid further down the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index. The country plunges to 67 out of 140 countries surveyed in the latest WEF report. This comes as a blow after South Africa fell into a recession. There have been contractions in the 9 of the 38 quarters since 2008, and growth has struggled to breach the 2% mark. To give us some analysis on the story is Professor Raymond Parsons. Now, can you just explain how this competitive report is put together and what exactly is being compared between all the countries?
Yes, good evening to you. Look, I think the way one must look at this is it's a balance sheet of the positive and the negative factors that affect the global competitiveness of a country and of the 140 countries. For South Africa, they strike a balance. And if the negative factors outweigh the positive factors, then your overall ranking goes down. And if it's the opposite, then your ranking goes up, as in the case of the United States, who've now, in fact, come out first. But I must say, for those of us who watch these developments, it's rather like watching a bad old movie, because we've been here before. It's not that we've dropped 5 places from 62 to 67. That's not a train smash. I think the issue here is that over the past decade or so, we've dropped from something like 35 or 36 right down to 67. So it's the trend that matters, and what message is it sending out to South Africa, and how does it resonate with the concerns that we have about the South African economy, its growth, employment, poverty, all those things we want to do. Why do we worry about global competitiveness? Why should we worry about it? Well, because in the long run, if you are globally competitive, you will enlarge your share of world trade and world investment. That's the bottom line.
What are some of the factors that have brought South Africa to this particular position? You say it's an old movie that we've seen before. So what are the red flags that are dragging down the country's performance there? Well,
the red flags, which are familiar, of course, the fact that our labour market is not functioning well. The whole question of our labour relations is one factor. Another factor is that some of these perceptions about crime and security are very negative. We've also declined in the health area. And one of the new factors, of course, has been the uncertainty around land reform. So that tipped the balance towards the negative. And what we have to do, we have to tackle the weaknesses and build on the strengths.
The property rights, as you say, have also slid down, dropped down from 56, and South Africa is now at 97 out of 140 countries. Is it a fair assessment, given the fact that South Africa is still going through the process of land reform and there's nothing that's actually being finalized as yet?
I would assess these perceptions rather not that there shouldn't be land reform. I think everyone's agreed we have to have land reform. It's a question of how it's done. And in this period, there is a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of divisiveness. The dust hasn't settled on the debate. We still have to channel all the energies into a positive direction so that we come up with a package that will work for everyone and make everyone feel that we found a solution to this long-standing issue of land reform. So I think it's very much a perception issue, and as long as we're in a phase of uncertainty, it will have a negative impact.
Well, the World Economic Forum also looking at the average growth in the past 10 years, and sadly for the country, it hasn't gone past that 2% mark, and the average of growth there was at 1.7%. Going into the investment summit, as well as the MTPPS that the finance minister is going to deliver, what are some of the growth engines that we can start up to make sure that we get over the 2% mark?
Well, that's the important challenge. We've seen from both the World Economic Forum study, as well as we know ourselves, that we've only grown at about 1.7% over the past decade. That's bad news. It's not good for employment. It's not good for poverty. It's not good for in fact, inequality. So there's a big job to be done. Now there are certain transitional steps underway. The investment summit, we are trying to tackle the debt problem in the budget. We want to see if we can turn this economy round. I think what the message is saying to us here from the World Economic Forum, that obviously global competitiveness is one important instrument that you have to use in order to get growth, to get employment and to do all the things you want to do. But ultimately, those initiatives, whether it's the investment summit, getting the right thing in our public finances, whatever it may be, those answers and solutions have to be found within South Africa. And if we want to fix the future, we have to start now.
And if you look at the report, what are some of the great examples that South Africa can model in terms of getting their competitiveness up there and also getting their growth up as well? What are some of the countries that have performed well over the past years?
Well, there are some that have gone up and some gone down, obviously. I think the leader in Africa is Mauritius. It is an island, so it's different, but nonetheless, there are also some lessons we can learn from a country right next door, which is Botswana, which comes out very well in terms of its public finances. But the important point is there is a lot of material available, both from the World Economic Forum and elsewhere. The important point now is to walk the talk. I think that is what everyone wants.
All right, time for South Africa to deliver there. That was Professor Raymond Parsons. On to another story now. Despite the current economic climate, South African consumers and businesses are continuing to spend money. According to Stats SA, retail sales increased to 1.9% in the last month compared to the same period last year. The latest data shows that retail sales rose to 2.5% year-on-year in August after increasing by 1.4% in July. Major contributors to the growth were retailers in textiles, clothing, footwear and leather goods. On a month-on-month basis, sales increased 0.6% from a 1.3% increase previously. Some analysts have questioned the positive data given most retailers have released poor financials this year. Go through now to markets, and the local market was firing ahead in the morning only to drag back more than 1,000 points today, dragged down by, of course, industrials were down more than 2%, while financials also weakened despite a firmer rand. In commodity prices, the price of gold now at $1,226 an ounce, and platinum down more than 0.5%, with Brent crude at $79.64 a barrel. The rand has been tracking the Turkish lira, making huge against the dollar. It's at 14.11 now against the greenback. Also firm against the euro, 16 rand 27 cents at 18 rand 53 cents against the pound.
Pay more for great medical aid. Our Savvy Hospital Network options offer unlimited hospital cover and no deposits on admission. Prof Med, intelligent medical aid for postgraduates.
Well, some more challenges for South Africa ahead of that investment summit. I'll bring you more updates, of course, in the next hour. It's back to Vuyo now.